You are looking for some fresh, hot, new 4X strategy game content, right? Like Galactic Civilizations IV. Oh, you are really? You're on the wrong channel, I guess. I'm just browsing through some old DOS games from the 90s, like this one. And look at these alien space mammoths.
How dare you, infidel!
Oh, the mammoths can talk?
Heed the song of Mandinanda, mortal, lest the prophecy of our return has come to pass.
But you haven't returned since 1995. There isn't any sequel of Ascendancy Dos-Game, is there?
The Snovemdomas shall rise again. You will bring us back.
Okay, let's give it a try and retrieve these space mammoths Snovemdomas from oblivion, shall we? With a fresh, new, hot 4X strategy game like Galactic Civilizations IV. 30 years I've waited for this, but today's the day. Today we will resurrect a spacefaring species from the long-forgotten 4X game Ascendancy Dos-Game 1995 by Logic Factory and make it playable in Galactic Civilizations IV. To achieve this, we will use the game Spore from 2006. Lots of XML code, a music production software, Canva, and of course the GalCiv-4 ship designer. You may jump to different chapters in the description, but I will start with step number 1. Respect the origin. When you came from other 4X games like Master of Orion, Civilizations, Age of Wonders, Alpha Centauri or GalCiv, and you encounter Ascendancy for the first time, you will be surprised by the looks of it. The design approach is probably the most unique in all 4X history. You won't find another game like this. There are 21 species with unique portrayal, lore and ship design. Let me introduce to you the mighty Snovemdomas. On the lore side, the following information is critical. Snovemdomas are beer-sized pack-hunting predators from a high-gravity world. Because of that gravity, they evolved very light and robust honeycomb bones and great strength. They excel in material science. As builders of nigh-indestructable ships, their ships all have double strength hulls. The leader of all Snovemdomas has the title Dovamon. They put great value on stories, tales and traditions. A cornerstone of their society are the tales of Mandinanda. Now our goal is to implement this species in Galactic Civilizations IV. Let's build an appearance first to make portraits for leaders, advisors and citizens. And for this step we will use Spore. Yes, Spore. You heard correctly, and you will soon understand why. In the Spore game, there's a species designer which will help us making a template for the Snovemdoma species. We will focus first and foremost on the overall shape and the core features. It looks similar to a mammoth, but it has no eyes. Instead, there's a sphere appended to the front head. On the end of the snout there are pincers, which look a bit grabby and greedy. So let's try to pull this off. The shape needs a bit of adjustment, but overall it is one of the most easy Ascendancy species to remake in Spore. Now I am quite content with the shape, so let's add a paint job and make it look light brownish and furry. Finally, we switch to the test run to make a few photos from multiple different angles. The pictures are now in my Spore folder and we can progress to the next step. I will use Canva to enhance them. Now for this one single step in the faction creation and for nothing else, I will include a very restricted usage of AI. And yes, it is very limited. It has to be, because otherwise it would ruin the whole figure. The AI is told to keep the shape and to stick strongly to my template. So basically what it will do is for the most part texture, color and lighting. The results you can see here are only possible because of the creature I designed in Spawn. Without this template, you wouldn't recognize the species at all. The AI would simply show what it is trained on from the pre-existing creations of various artists. Now, we create different sizes of these images for leaders, thumbnails and citizens. The leader image for the menu and diplomacy screen is 16:9. The other images are square format. And with our first assets being created, a costume mod photo shall be created as well, and we name it Ascendancy. To later warp these portraits into the game, we shall engineer those XML files. I won't go into detail here. If you are interested in the XML, please write it in the comments and I will share it with you. The next asset we will create for our Snovemdomas is some costume faction music, starting with a short introduction track for the menu and diplomacy screen. Additionally, this music piece will play during the opening story event. For getting into the vibe of the mighty Snovemdomas, we shall use some core elements of the Ascendancy soundtrack. But we won't copy the melody substance itself, because that would be infringing. Let us listen closely to the original composed by Nenad Vuklinik. Musician or not, you will certainly hear these features. There's a big drone with long reverb deep down in the nose, and at the same time a large bell and a singing voice in the midst. In a steady and slow rhythm you can hear this deep percussion. And like a special cue, there's also a very bright percussion similar to a triangle. We will start with a drone. My approach will include low strings, low brass and a bassoon. For the stomping, I will use timpani and big bells. For the melody, I use my own notes, which however have a similar hovering and uncertain character like the voice from the Ascendancy original. Let us now weave together different bells, chants and effects to get a mysterious texture. To bridge the gap between drone and melody, we use a laying pad of long strings, voices, sound effects and bells. Finally, to deliver an archaic space mammoth blow, we add some strange whale effects along with a brass signal and a gong. Now this is the result. Give it please a short listen. You will notice that my result is totally different from the Ascendancy inspiration, but apparently it has survived for portraying a mystical space mammoth. And we will go even further. From this track as a starting point, I will elaborate another track which is faster, uses more drums, less pads and more brass in the melody. To implement the music tracks into the game, we have to find out where to put them. Not an easy task. I actually learned that by try and error. And we also have to create another 3 XMLs. If you're interested in the details of costume music implementation, please put it in the comments. Thank you so far for having this deep dive into portraits and music with me. The next chapter will be the creation of a costume star system, names and flavor text. We don't have an overboarding amount of background lore for these Snovemdomas, but what we have is in itself consistent and special. So every single word and every detail is important. We have the tales of Mandinonda, the leader title of Dovamon, and the overall theme of mighty warriors from a cold, harsh environment that are seeking new hunting grounds, and that's actually a very good starting point. The first thing we will do is to take the names literally. The The leader title is Dovamon, and I will freely interpret this as Dova Master, which is the ruler over the world of Dova. So our homeworld will be called Dova Forthorn. Now the phonetics of Dova are very similar to the name Dona, which is the German name for the god of thunder and strength, Thor. So we do already have the name of a Norse god with just a few letters changed. And the Norse mythology would also complement the hunter-warrior vibe and the court environment of the space mammoth. Therefore, we will use the Terran Sol system as a starting point and first exchange the names of our Roman gods with Norse gods. For example, Mars becomes Tyr and Venus becomes Freya. Then we adapt all names to sound a bit more alien. We will use the syllables on and onda from Mandinonda. So we end up with Tyron and Freyonda. Mandinonda itself will be the name of our star, and we can only speculate that the tales are probably very brutal and bloody, like Ragnarök. For the citizen names, we will adapt the last names option from the Drath species, because they are space dragons, which should fit well into northern mythology. For the solar system objects, we will turn the star Mandinonda into a red giant and give it the appearance of a brown dwarf. That brings a dim and gloomy light into the system. Our homeworld Dova will have a higher planet class of 30, because it is a big high-G planet. But to balance things out and to portray a cold environment, it will become a mountainous world, which has one orbital slot less than a terrestrial. We implement all these changes by configuring yet another 5 XML files in our mod directory. Easy. To further specialize the system and make it unique, we will reflect the Snovemdomas usage of very sturdy and durable materials, with a triple Duranthium start and few more asteroids. Last but not least, we will add some really unique flavor to this faction by implementing a Costum Planetary improvement and flavor text alongside. The Forge of the Flying Gods. This building will, on the game mechanics side, reflect the sturdiness of our ships with a twist. The HP and armor rating of ships coming from the local shipyard will increase for a tiny bit with every level of the forge. On the lore side, the flavor text of its trigger event will reflect the Snovemdomas' affinity for tales by introducing the language concept from the famous Star Trek Next Generation episode Darmok. That means the Dovamon and his fellow Snovemdomas will discuss the reasons and means for ship construction and starfaring by metaphorically citing their folklore and divine tales. By the way, do you think this start is overpowered? We will cover that topic in the gameplay and balance section of this video. But first, we switch to this big and awesome part of ship design in Galactic Civilizations IV. And just like before, we will start with being amazed by the original artwork for the Snovemdomas ships in Ascendancy Dos-Game 1995. There were 4 different hulls, all looking very strong and sturdy, resembling, with their tusk and sphere-like structures, the anatomy features of their Snovemdomas creators themselves. Now what I'm gonna do is doubling down on this approach. I will implement the spheres, the tusk, and additionally structures that looks like snout and pincers. But before we dash into the designer, we have to check the boxes in the options menu, enable freeform designer and show Starbases. Then we go to the faction customization screen copy a pre-existent ship style and save it. Now, since this new ship style will be created from scratch, including all 4 types of starbases, each with 5 levels, we've got quite a few models before us. Now we open the ship designer and select the copied ship style. Let us use Arcean color preset as a starting point to get a brownish coloring, and because of the Snovemdomas honeycomb bone business mentioned in the lore. We will use 2 different hexagonal surface textures to reflect the material constitution. For the texture modifications, I get a good feeling with a mix of shiny metal, high reflectivity saturated for the primary parts and medium reflectivity desaturated for the secondary. I will first show you my design principles for the shipset at the most simple design, the scout probe Ratatusk, starting with an oval body with a few rings attached to it and the aforementioned sphere. Below the sphere goes the snout, and on the ring are several horns. On the spheric head and snout I will attach some sniffy looking sensor gadgets. Now comes the first tricky part, animation. I want the probe to have a subtle and steady movement. So I select the horns and the snout and give them a small oscillating rotation in every direction. Let's look at it for a moment. Isn't that a cute little elephant probe? The construction ship design GalCiv will follow the same principles, however, it will have much bigger and complicated build. The body consists of several cylindric, oval and ring parts. The front sphere is in relation much smaller because designs with a small head look genuinely bigger. For construction and mining objects, I will also introduce these rotor parts into my set. And a construction ship needs of course tools for manipulation and transport. So I will attach 2 additional tusks with pincers on the side for grabbing and also a more solid one below for hauling. Finally, we have to give it a powerful looking engine at the rear. The supply ship Gnarr will have a very special layout. It is a long body with multiple tusks holding the cargo. Below you can see these bulky heavy containers really hanging around there, and it looks even a bit dangerous, as if they would crash together at any moment. Really into the opposite direction goes our starting service ship Sogar, which has an elegant, even a bit feminine design because of the Atarian parts at the rear. A rather tricky part in ship design are drone swarms. Let me show you 2 models. The drones are attached to a big ring structure. For the carrier Frick, the ring rotates around the mothership, pun intended. And it even gets bigger and smaller with size animation. The drones are rotating with the ring and around themselves, which is okay for these drone chassis. For the drone carrier Oda, however, the drones are not rotating with the ring because they have their own counter-rotation, which keeps them looking in one direction. And finally, let us scroll through some fighters and big boy battleships from tiny to huge. The most important starbase is of course the shipyard, because you look at it frequently in every game. The shipyard has to be hollow in the middle so that all of the models of ships being built can fit in the middle. Otherwise, it would look very ugly. So I took these beautiful rings from the precursor set, which have the perfect appearance because of these mystical runes and the shiny metal. Of course, I did the snouts with pincers, and of course I used the spheres. But there's something else to it. These Artarian parts, in combination with these tusk appendages, really has a certain elephant graveyard vibe, doesn't it? For the mining bases, I wanted something really unique. That's mining level 1, and it is brutal. a giant vacuum cleaner snout with pincers that grabs onto things and sucks them in. Below is a big hungry mouse waiting to shred everything into pieces. And these are the other models of mining bases up to level 5. For the other bases I used a much more familiar approach to Galactic Civilizations IV, but each model is clearly recognizable as Snovemdomas because of the spheres, snouts and pincers, and you can also see the difference between economy, culture and military. This chipset, however, I won't implement directly into the faction. Instead, you can download it as a standalone version and use it for the Snovemdomas or other factions. On to the last chapter of this video: gameplay and balance. I don't want this faction to be overpowered, but I wanted to feel strong despite the fact that it isn't a research-centered faction. First and foremost, however, I wanted to feel unique and organic in its playstyle. The Snovemdomas citizens have high resolve and that's it. They are basically like Arceans, but instead of being humanoid, they have the phenotype mammoths, which makes them more numerous and less productive. This not so impressive citizen build is followed by another not so impressive faction build. They will get soldiering and planetary defense bonus, as well as the little speed bonus and intimidation. The two chosen abilities are Ironborn, which increases the armor rating of your ships, and Vigilant, which is a more complex perk that is enhancing defense capabilities. So far the faction is rather mediocre, because defense capabilities are on itself not as important as research or production. Therefore, the real strength of the Snovemdomas tribes is centered around its mighty starting system with triple Duranthium, plenty of asteroids, and the unique planetary improvement Forge of the Flying Gods. This building will make your ships more tanky for every level it gets, so it will be preferable to specialize your homeworld Dover as the manufacturing world. Orbital upgrade slots are rare, making it necessary to prioritize orbitals like the Galactic Academy for warship production and even doubling down on the sturdiness of your ships. But there's also a side effect. This HP and armor buff will make it less attractive choice for the player to build military ships in other regions. A strong tendency to centralization, which may also cause blind spots in your military power projection, which is of course intended. A playstyle probably emerging from this situation is: the homeworld shipyard builds few but powerful ships, which are then deployed into the most important spots of your territory, set up for a more regional approach of defense, and a mighty vanguard fleet which aims to hunt down the most potent threats before they can wreak havoc in your own realm. The triple Duranthium start may not sound that important in the long run, but the early abundance of Duranthium will probably cause design and upgrade decisions which snowballs into very early spaceports, high HP flagships and projectile-heavy designs. The Ironborn ability will eventually encourage you to build more armor-heavy ship designs. To try out this faction mod, please download it from the GalCiv website linked below. Then download the chipset and follow the install instructions. Now off with you, back into the void, Starfarer, lest the prophecy of your next great space adventure in Galactic Civilizations have come to pass.